This episode of Radio KD8TTE will introduce QSP, the newsletter that is sourced and distributed entirely by radio. We'll show you how to subscribe, how to contribute, and how the skills that you need to participate help you to be prepared for emergency mode operations. Stick around.
Black Swan.
Emergency exercises are great for developing a working understanding of emergency mode operations and testing skills needed to succeed as a radio operator in those conditions. That's not the only condition in which you can develop those skills and practice them, however. An effort coordinated at this station is QSP, a weekly newsletter sourced and distributed by radio. The name of the newsletter, QSP, is the procedure signal, ~, for relay. Contributors send their content via radio to the newsletter editor, who in turn produces an issue of the newsletter for the week, which is then released to all subscribers via radio. Thus, contributions are relayed by the editor, and it all happens by radio. Contributions to the newsletter can be made using any common amateur radio messaging system, including the National Traffic System NTS and Radio Relay International Nets, Packet BBS systems with routing into Ohio, narrowband emergency management software NBEMS capable nets that can reach the Black Swan or Central Ohio Traffic Net, and also, of course, Winlink. To participate, you will need to be able to send something to the newsletter editor, and you will need to be able to receive something back. Sending a message to the QSP editor can be done by voice, CW, or digital. Sending digitally is the option that gives you the most flexibility with what you send and automatically gives you a means to receive. The best case for participation is to have the FLMSG, FLMSG software, and the QSP custom form. The QSP editor is at BEXLEY station KD8TTE in Ohio. We'll show how to send your subscription request or submission in 4 different ways: NTS radiogram, Packet BBS, NBEMS in or near Ohio, and finally Winlink. Remember that the goal here is not just to have fun contributing to and reading an interesting newsletter, but to practice different methods. So even if you have a method that you prefer, we encourage you to try other options from time to time as well. First, we consider the NTS option. In this example, Joan the Ham wants to send a contribution using amateur radio's system of coordinated nets to support relay stations. To do so, she can originate a radiogram. Episode 3 on this channel showed how to do that in detail. For the sake of example, let's assume that Joan is at station Alpha Alpha 1 Alpha 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 and wants to contribute to QSP. She will decide what she is going to send in her message. Since she is sending by NTS, she knows that the circuits are case insensitive. Some of the relays might be voiced and others might be sent by CW, and neither of those distinguishes between upper and lower case letters. She also drafts the text using the standard radiogram punctuation rules as we presented in episode 18 on this channel. Whether using a form in a PDF with fillable fields on the computer, or completely by stick, which means using a pen with paper, the process is the same. Notice that first she completes the text of the message, since she knows what she's going to be sending. After the text is complete, she will then add the signature to indicate not only her name and title or other identifying information, but a way that a digital message can be sent back to her. In this case, she specifies Winlink AA1AAA. Once she has completed the text and signature parts of the radiogram, she will go up to the addressee part and complete to whom the message is going. She notes that it is the QSP editor and that it will be sent care of station W8SGM in Pickerington, Ohio. That level of detail is all that's needed to get the message delivered. W8SGM has been designated as the station to receive NTS messages on behalf of the QSP editor. That's why she sends it to that station. Having completed the message text, the sender, and the recipient information, she moves up to the top of the form and completes the preamble. She adds the message number, which is the next in the sequence of message numbers that she's been keeping track of at her station, routine precedence, since it doesn't have any particular urgency, and the station of origin is AA1AAA, since that is the station where she is creating this message. The check showing the number of groups in the text, the place of origin in the form, the city, state, and the time. She specifies that as Zulu or Universal Coordinated Time, and then the date. Now that the message has been originated, she is ready to transmit that on any net that's connected to NTS or RRI. Her message will be included in the next issue of the QSP newsletter. Since she indicated her return address with Winlink, she will get her copy of the newsletter sent back to her by Winlink. This brings us to the matter of digital messaging. There isn't any reason that we cannot send an entire newsletter by radiogram. It is possible both to send long messages and to break long messages up into chunks so that several radiograms will be assembled to create the whole newsletter. There are two problems with this method, however, which is why we don't do it. First is the matter of something the size of the newsletter and transmission time. Second, there is the time that it takes to originate a newsletter as an amateur radiogram that will work over the manual voice and CW circuits. Thus, we distribute the newsletter digitally, where we can get not only word for word and letter for letter accuracy, but also newline for newline and space for space accuracy without having to perform delivery steps that include decoding of groups for punctuation marks and so on. If we can distribute this way, we should be able to accept contributions digitally. And of course we can, on a net that can reach or relay to station KD8TTE through an amateur Packet BBS or through Winlink. You can send free-form text, or you can complete an electronic form that will give some normal structure to your contribution. Before we talk about the transmission methods, let's talk about the options for forms. In Radio KD8TTE Episode 15, we introduced the FLMSG application and how to use it to originate a message using the NTS radiogram. Joan the ham could of course use FLMSG to originate a radiogram contribution to QSP rather than the fillable PDF or paper form that we showed her using a little bit ago. FLMSG even has some nice features like upcasing the text and counting the groups to calculate the check in the preamble. FLMSG is not only for amateur radiograms, though. The utility offers many message formats, including the Incident Command System ICS forms, Civil Air Patrol CAP, and the Military Auxiliary Radio System MARS. It even offers the option for custom forms. As the QSP newsletter is looking for some specific information, we have created a custom form for FLMSG for use in QSP. You can get the FLMSG custom form for QSP from the Black Swan Comex website on the QSP Join the Party link below. On the Join the Party page, you'll find instructions on how to participate. Note under Origination, Compose Your Contribution, Steps to use our custom form in FLMSG. Step 1 is to download the Share with QSP custom form, which we'll select. The custom form is actually a zip archive, so when you click on it, you'll see the name of a file inside of the zip, and it's just one HTML file, the FLMSG custom form, so we download that. We click on the link and then wait for our oversold, overpromised, and under-delivered internet service from AT&T finds its way to the remote edges of the internet, like Google. Your local operating system might save the zip file once it eventually arrives, or give you an option to open the archive. We're going to take the option to open the archive. Once we do that, we'll save the file to our NBEMS custom folder. Since I already have a copy of the QSP custom form in my custom folder, I'm presented with an option, and that includes to overwrite what was there. I'm going to select that And this is how we would install a new version of the form whenever we update it. If we haven't ever saved the form there, the form will just be saved to the disk without any additional pop-up. Now we can start our FLMSG application. Once FLMSG has been started, we can pull down the Form menu and select Custom. If we've installed any other custom forms like the red cross, they'll appear in this list along with what we've just installed, Share with QSP. We find that and select it from the menu. What we see is the transmission format of the form before any data have been saved to it. So we go up to the Edit Form button and click it. That will start a web browser window with a rendered version of the form. Now the QSP custom form is up in the browser. Joan the ham completes the form, selecting her location in Champaign County, Ohio. The form also supports other ARRL sections, though not all sections have every county listed. Joan can then go through and select what she's been doing for the past week. Per band, she selects the modes that she's used, and then goes to the text box and will complete some commentary. She can put nothing in there at all, she can just say hi, or she can put in a great big report of anything that she likes. In this case, it's just a short message. The rest of the form has more instructions if you want to follow that step by step to make sure that you get everything done. It helps with addressing and so on. Don't forget to hit Submit at the bottom. Notice that FLMSG has the transmission format in it populated now with data. Joan uses the File menu to choose Save or Save As and brings up a dialog box that has her call sign in it and some other information about the time and date of the data being saved. If you're trying to access the file, you can go either directly to the folder where the file was saved, or you might be able to use the Recent feature of your operating system to find the file. If you open it up with the text editor, you can see that it is just plain text, unremarkable. That means that we can work with it in many different ways. If we take a look at the Black Swan Comex website, to the QSP page in particular, once again, we can find that there are templates available for contribution. Going to the option for the 16-line radiogram, that is the government-style radiogram, we are able to see we have everything that we need to be able to help us originate this message properly. Just as Joan the ham went through a process of completing a form with an amateur radiogram, it is possible for Joan the ham to create the 16-line message and use it as a means to transport the message that she wants to send that has been constructed with FLMSG using the QSP custom form. Joan will go through and make sure that the elements of the preamble are correct, the time and date group will be correct, and then can go down to the text, that is the lines between BT and the second BT. Taking the plain text, it's possible to select everything, copy the text, and then paste it between the BT lines. This is how to construct a radiogram that will be in the 16-line format and will be able to transmit on a circuit like the Black Swan Net. Now you can save the message and save it according to the naming of your station and the number to help you to find it more easily in the future. The same process is used for being able to copy and then to paste the content of the message into a Packet BBS message that will be on its way to the QSP relay, and that is WX80H, as the instructions on the custom form point out. Once Joan has constructed her 16-line radiogram that contains the QSP submission, she can go into FLAMP if she's going to transmit it on the Black Swan Net. FLAMP will give options for being able to add the message to the transmit queue, since she is going to be transmitting that. She'll click the compression box, COMP, and then make a comparison of the transmission time. In this case, the transmission time is exactly the same whether compressed or not. KD8TTE is the station that's going to be receiving that message in the net, and so Joan will go to the Send To line and change the QST to KD8TTE. Now, Joan is ready to transmit that message via Black Swan. In the same way that Joan was able to construct a 16-line radiogram with the content of the FLMSG file, she can go to Winlink and do the same thing by originating a message which presents in the form of email, so it's very familiar to a lot of people. Joan is able to go into a particular folder that is where her messages are saved. It's going to be in ICS messages under NBEMS, and she can make an attachment. It will attach the K2S file directly. Joan is able to address her Winlink message to QSP. That is a tactical address that exists in the Winlink system that will get to the QSP editor. As she goes through, she will go into the subject, and she will make sure that it's a Winlink 2K message, going to have routine precedence, and adds that it's for a QSP submission, and then we'll post the message via Winlink. Winlink also has its own concept of forms like FLMSG. The difference is that with Winlink, they tend to be integrated more tightly into the system and are not going to be able to work well with other systems. If you would like to add to QSP by using a Winlink Net Check-In form, you may do that as well. That requires going to Winlink Composition pane, clicking on the template, and checking the option for a Net Check-In. The Net Check-In will present you with a form, Express Check-In. Again, you can address to QSP, provide details about your station. In the Net Check-In form, there is a small box that will allow you to add only a little bit of information. It does not have the details about your operation from the past week, which bands you've been working, and so on. It also does not have a spacious area for you to type a large amount of text. Just like everyone else who is participating in the QSP project, Joan will have a message waiting for her on Sunday. Her machine is going to be working the radio and downloading piece by piece everything necessary to reconstruct the entire newsletter. Depending on the size of the newsletter, the quality of her connection, and the frequency that she's operating on, it might take anywhere from a few seconds to a few minutes to be able to receive the message. The critical point, though, is that she is receiving it without infrastructure. This is operating exactly as she would need to in the event of a disaster where she needs to communicate, perhaps on behalf of an agency or a non-government organization, or for her neighbors, to make sure that everyone can continue to communicate, even if the internet, the telephone service, or other means of communication that are normally there are unavailable or overloaded. Once the download of the newsletter has taken place, it will be there in the inbox, and clicking on the attachment will allow you to see the content that everyone has contributed, as well as any other editorial comments that come along with the newsletter for the week. And really, that's all there is to it. The QSP newsletter is designed to help you to practice skills that you would need to use in the event of a disaster or where normal communication infrastructure is unavailable, but to do so in a way that's fun and engaging and also has regular operations. The regular operations helps to make sure that your station is always ready, that you're always ready to use those skills, and that they are practiced so you're not having to scratch your head and try to remember how to do something because you aren't quite sure how you did it the last time, which might have been a few months ago or maybe sometime last year. By practicing every week, you have those skills readily available and you're always ready to go, and you know the status of your station. At the same time, you're not going through the whole process of spinning up a big exercise and completing an after-action report and so on. This is just a fun way that you can engage, make sure that your skills are fresh, and also to stay in contact with other amateur operators who have similar interests and who are also making sure that they are always ready and that their stations are always prepared to help in the event of an emergency. That's the QSP newsletter. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you do subscribe and that you participate in the newsletter. If you've got any questions, of course, send them and we'll be happy to address them. This is Radio KD8TTE. Out.